Mr. Burris impacted so many lives. It's incredible. And he did that with his illness from a wheelchair.
I've gone through a lot of years of education, and there's only one teacher that I ever went back and visited, and it was Mr. Burris, my music school teacher.
Every day in my recording studio, every time I get on stage, I think and thank Doug Burris for giving me the superpower to be able to create and give joy to others.
Martha Teichner tells the story of a music instructor with a far bigger challenge: to bring his entire life into harmony.
Doug Burris is a high school band teacher at a little high school in Miami Beach, Florida.
Ever since multiple sclerosis forced him to stop teaching the marching band, Doug has shifted his attention to stationary instruments of the electric kind, turning Miami Beach High into an authentic rock and roll high school. Check it out.
MS is a degenerative disease, but Burris had no idea how fast or how slowly his condition would deteriorate.
My first thought about all this was, what am I going to do to feel useful? You know, what am I going to do with my life if it does go really, really bad?
So I spoke to the principal and I said, can we get a rock thing going? And he was a very cool guy. And he said, sure, go ahead.
So in 1972, he started Rock Ensemble because it was his kind of music. From the very beginning, it has attracted unconventional kids.
So every kid that comes through that door is at risk. And so it's the teacher's responsibility to give that kid something to bring him so he's not so at risk with life.
BJ didn't play an instrument or sing, but Doug Burris discovered he had a talent for sound engineering.
Sophomore year when I got into Rock Ensemble, it all changed. And it's all because, of him. He opened that door to me. I'm going to college now. 3 years ago, I would not have been going to college.
Mr. Burris is an incredible man. He's a divine inspiration to me.
He's one of those teachers you gain respect for, like, as a friend.
He's a great guy. You can't judge a book by its cover. Just because he's in a wheelchair doesn't mean he can't do anything. The guy, he's amazing.
He's a quadriplegic. He has no movement from his neck down. So who takes care of him? The kids in his high school classroom take turns working in 24-hour shifts, feeding him, bathing him, putting on his deodorant, brushing his teeth.
I look at him like my dad, and I can tell him to his face, I love him. He's just family, someone I need to help because he's part of my life.
It's a funny thing about Doug Burris and his students. Being part of his life, they find themselves changed.
It just keeps on inspiring me because whenever I think, I can't do this, and I just look at Mr. Burris, I consider him a role model.
It was always the music. When people say, what keeps that guy going? What keeps him going? The thing that keeps me going is the music. And of course, dealing with kids and, seeing them grow up and mature.
On a night when everyone was rewarded in one way or another, there were only first-place trophies for Doug Burris's kids.
All right. Thanks, B. Yeah, man. Congratulations. Good job. Love you, too. You guys deserve it. I can't really explain how I'm successful at it, but I do know that I love it. I do know that I love the kids. And when you can see that you make a difference in a kid, that just inspires you to do it again.
So in 4th grade, I saw the Rock Ensemble perform, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And then when I went to high school, I met Doug Burris. I met the man who inspired me to pick up an instrument. A few months into the school year, the bass player left, and he said, Sammy, I need you to play bass in rock ensemble. And I said, sure, sounds great. That was such a learning experience for me, and I had no idea that I was being trained for my future at the time. But I fell in love with music, and I was able to play at a high level, and I was able to travel because of that. When I was 27 years old, I started Young Musicians Unite, which is a nonprofit for free music education. I thought it was important because if it wasn't for music education being free, I wouldn't have been inspired to pick up an instrument. It gave me the opportunity to go to college for free. And here I am now, years later, and I took over the thing that started it all. And I'm able to carry that legacy forward. I remember 2 years before Burris passed away, and I performed for him. And I remember him looking and just crying a little bit and just saying, I'm so proud of what you've done with Young Musicians Unite, and I'm proud of where you're at as a musician. And that was one of the most important days of my life, because I saw Burris as a father. I didn't have a father growing up. Burris retired in 2012. Iran Garcia took over the rock ensemble. He was in it. And he came to me after a few years and he said, Sammy, I'm going to California and you need to take it over because if not, it's going to go away. And I said, I will do it if it's under Young Musicians Unite. It's what we do. We do free music education. This goes right with it. And I met with the principal. We all agreed on it. And that was the first step in 2018. And it was really cool because here I am working with Mac, who was the assistant director when I was a student in the rock ensemble.
We're just lucky because our other programs here at the school have died, unfortunately. Sammy wanted to keep it going. I wanted to keep it going. I'm glad he took it over. When you get these kids on stage and you just see like the magic happen and you're like, you got to keep this going. How do you stop something that's this positive for the community as well as for them?
What is the Rock Ensemble? The Rock Ensemble is a rock and roll band based out of Miami Beach Senior High School. You have to audition to be in it. It's 12 to 15 amazing musicians, and you have 5 to 8 sound techs and engineers. They meet twice a week. They set up their own equipment, their own sound systems, and they perform all over the city. I'm gonna go in order. Each part, intro, okay. To get into the program, you have to audition. I'll release 5 classic songs, and the students will have to pick one. So you have to sign up, you have to show up to your audition, and you have 5 minutes to shine and make it happen.
It's become a big part of my life. To really be immersed in it, you meet new people, and I think it will help me build connections for the future.
It's interesting, you watch them during their very first auditions, and everybody's super scared.
My name's Sam Greenwald. I'm trying out for Rock Ensemble for guitarist. Today I was playing Tom Sawyer by Rush. It's a little scary. When I came in, I was nervous, and then when I saw people playing, I kind of relaxed a little. I felt good on the song in general, but I was caught off guard for some of the chords.
All six strings. Is your middle finger on the 3rd string? Almost. So that was an almost.
I feel relieved that I'm done, but a little nervous to know whether or not I got in.
And then after about maybe 2 or 3 shows, all of a sudden they're superstars. It's just like everything changed. That's what it does to you.
Performing with the Rock Ensemble, at first I was scared because I haven't sang in front of people in a long time. But I guess being around like friends, because we've all become super close, like a family almost, it made it way easier to get accustomed to performing in front of audiences. So one thing that they really helped me on was my vocal improvement and my vocal placement.
There'll be peace when you are gone. Don't you cry, no.
I have this saying, never use music to play theory, use theory to play music. In the end, you want to be playing music. In the end, you want to be playing a song. You want to move people. To get the notes right is one thing, but to play art is another thing.
Not only are we here as band members, we're also here as friends. It's just like a lot of fun because with your friends, you're moving around, you're dancing, you're playing, and you're all sharing the fantastic music around us.
It opened me to a whole new world of music. I met so many amazing people and just changed my life, and I know it changed everyone else who's been in it.
So the students set up all their instruments, the sound system, their microphones. If you're a guitar player, you have to set up your amp, your pedal board, your own microphone, connected to the mixer. If you're a sound tech, you're going to be setting up all the monitors, the PA system. So everyone's involved in it, and we're all working together as a family. And what I've seen is that creates this social dynamic where they're working together as a team. But it's also important when we go and play a show, they understand how to set it up.
It helped me with my stage presence. I had a lot of fun, you know, I got to meet new people, especially like hearing all those harmonies and all the instruments together. It's my favorite part of the thing.
I love being here because I love playing music, I love being on stage, I love getting the experience of what it's like to be a professional musician, setting up, breaking down. That's necessary if you want to be a real musician, and I really do.
Important for the students to perform that vocational experience, setting up their own sound system, showing up really early, having that 12-hour a day, and then getting to perform, and then having to break everything down.
I've learned a lot about audio engineering and actually mixing and setting up and tearing down and going to so many shows. It's definitely been a really good experience.
On the technical side, my goal is to make sure that they don't make the same mistake again. And the more they do it, I think that's where they benefit.
If something's getting unplugged, if there's an issue, it's your job to fix it. Okay. No one else's, right? So just be on here and watch everyone, learn who they are. That's the goal.
I definitely think it's great to have failures in it, especially because it just helps you, okay, next time I won't do this. The ability to problem solve, especially on the spot, is something that I've always been pretty good at, but definitely gotten a lot better at running tech from here. It's a really fun thing to do.
The 50th anniversary, we had 102 musicians on stage for a 4.5-hour epic rock and roll concert. And it took a lot of work, from picking the songs to planning to figuring out what musicians were going to play together.
I heard about this reunion and I'm like, I gotta fly down. So I flew down from New Orleans and I'm excited to be here. It doesn't matter what I play, even if I play a note, just to see people that I haven't seen in a long time and see some of the new faces.
I'm looking forward to just blowing this band shell up. This is going to be great. I can't wait to see people I haven't seen in decades. I haven't played with these guys since 1980. That's the highlight of my trip down here.
The most important part of the show was, how do you put on a beautiful event that will honor Doug Burris for the people who knew him and have people fall in love with the man like we did if they had no idea who he was?
Seeing the legacy continue from Clark Douglas Burris, a legend, an inspiration, a father figure to so many. I'm looking forward to seeing what Sammy has done. I went to Japan with Sammy. I was supporting Mr. Burris, and Mr. Burris took the classical guitar ensemble to Japan. And seeing Sammy in that group as a teenager, but to see him now leading this massive program and doing it so successfully, I'm really looking forward to Saturday night. It's gonna be amazing.
Once you get to the performance, it's really fast, you know, it all, feels like a euphoric moment. And then everyone kind of connects, everyone kind of like locks in with each other, and it's just a cool experience.
It's also important for the community. They're playing for thousands of kids every single year. So they're inspiring students to pick up an instrument, to get into the arts.
And I've learned a lot of very valuable skills when it comes to, the music industry, and even when it comes to performing, from both Sammy, Mac, AJ, the three mentors at the Rock Ensemble.
The experience that all of us, the teachers and the mentors, offer to them. You don't have to accept everything, but to absorb it, hear it, and then incorporate that into who you become as a musician when you're an adult. You get challenges, but I think in the end, most of the young people appreciate it and they grow from it, whether they know it or not.
They're getting real world experience, and these students stand out. They have 50, 60 performances under their belt by the time they get to college. They're going to be the people that people want to work with.
It's so fascinating for me to see all of Doug's students, okay, become successful in music and out of music, and if they're not in music, they're doing something else that they're being successful at.
I was in Rock Ensemble 94 to 98. We had a really, really good set of kids. It was so good that he was like, we're gonna do Sgt. Pepper.
It's been a great experience for myself and for the students to go through the music of the Beatles.
Doug was always really good also at introducing us to people to set an example and say, look, you could do this for a living. Tom Dowd used to come, he used to be our advisor, and this is the guy who produced Layla, Aretha Franklin, Allman Brothers.
The applause goes to you.
And he would come in, and you know what? He took me under his wing. I remember he said, this is Fernando. He's 17 years old. He's going to be a record producer. I was like, I just told you I'm starting. He's like, no, you're going to do this. And funny enough, years later, that's what I do. In 2019, I was on tour with an artist named Dave Kersner in England. I had a free day, and I decided to call Abbey Road Studios and see if they had any time available. And not only did they have time available, they had time available in Studio 2, which is the famous Beatles studio. And I brought with me a photo of Doug. And it was such a magical thing because to be in that room where Sgt. Pepper was created, it was one of those full circle things, and I had to bring Doug with me.
Something said in the bed.
You know, the memory of Doug, I mean, he's just the one responsible for me doing what I do. And when I think of that, I think of what maybe I'm doing for these kids here.
When I got there, everyone was just so nice and professional, and it was like a family reunion, and people were just excited to be back together and to get on stage.
And you try, oh you try, with your powdered eyes, but I just got a little scared.
And I heard from someone who just graduated, wow, this changed my whole viewpoint on everything because I realized that I'm part of something way larger than myself.
Welcome to the 50th anniversary of this city's rock ensemble.
I remember watching it in action. 5-minute switchovers, had to get 20 people off and on stage. It sounded so amazing. Everyone was so professional. Ruben Lane did a beautiful job with just light show and graphics. I was just so happy.
As far as Rock Ensemble going on, we need it. This is something that could be taken into the real world.
It trains young musicians to use their ear and to improvise and to perform. These are all very, very important musical values that transfer over into becoming good people.
It was just a place to thank Burris, to honor Burris, and all these people, 102 musicians, got to see the new rock ensemble. And I was just really proud.
Can we give a big round of applause for the alumni? And Sophia on keys. Thank you guys so much. Play the bass, Sammy. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out with me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing anything. Oh, baby, I got
Doug was here, and he was happy. I mean, he probably had something to say about every song, as he always would, but he was generally happy.